You realize that in like the 30 hours that you were gone, the entire organization almost burnt to the ground, right? This video is going to be like an hour long. Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Astros, and I'm here to go on a marathon video to talk about the Lance McCullers news, Game 68 and Game 69. Nice. The past 2 days for the Houston Astros organization has been bonkers. And to get into it immediately, because I don't want to be up till 4 in the morning with this video, the Lance McCullers news that breaks yesterday. So it was announced early in the morning, I want to say like before 10 a.m. Eastern, that Dana Brown would go to the media midday, late in the afternoon, with news on Lance McCullers. And you could tell from the way they said that it was not going to be happy news of saying, hey, fellas, he's feeling great throwing 101. He's going to be back in the rotation by the end of the week. It was not quite worst case scenario, but it was brushing mighty close to that. His injury, the setbacks, they were bad. They got to him. It's not a matter of is he missing another month. It's he's missing the remainder of the season and probably a little bit of next year. I hope to God he doesn't. I hope that he is perfect and at 110% come the first spring training game and strikes out every batter he faces for the rest of his career. But the injury is far worse than initially thought, and he will miss the remainder of the season. He will not pitch in 2023. And I wanted to touch on it briefly because of how much there is in Game 68 and 69. That's all I really can do. I think tomorrow or Saturday I'm going to make a longer video because I think, in my opinion, the McCullers news brings about a lot more than just the debate of, oh, that sucks, you know. I think there's a lot to be said with that, and with the trade possibility at the deadline, and the play of this team, combined with the fact that Brantley, who knows at this point, Jordan's going to miss a lot of time, 3 weeks minimum before he's back to baseball activity, so he's not even going to touch a bat for almost a month. With those in mind, with McCullers being out, with Garcia being out, Urquidy still a question mark, I think the Astros as an organization have to take a deep look at the roster, the play that they've had this season, and ask themselves a very uncomfortable, but I feel very legitimate question of, do you push all of the assets that it would require to go get 2 starting pitchers, the way the bullpen's been, probably a reliever, and a high-impact bat, not just like a bottom 3, roster filler guy, but a legitimate star bat? Do you want to trade those assets and push in for this year, or just kind of let it ride, make a move, and just kind of let the chips fall where they may and regroup for next year? But I think that should be a longer video than just shoehorned at the start of this one, so that will probably be tomorrow or Saturday. But the TLDR for the McCullers news, this is awful. And that is a big, I don't know if you can call it loss because they haven't had him this season, but that is an impact player that I and a lot of Astros fans have been eagerly waiting for the return of him. And knowing that he won't be here this year you've lost 2 legitimate top of the rotation guys in him and Garcia. And God, the questions that this team has to ask themselves, it's not fun. And I'm realizing in this moment that this video is basically like if someone handed you a sandwich that was 2 turds for buns with like a Nutella and peanut butter filling, where you're like, okay, the middle's good. Either end of this absolutely sucks. Because, man, Game 68 sure was one of the games of all time. Okay. Astros, early in this game. First inning, things you love to see. The Jose Abreu Revenge Tour. 2-run RBI double to put the Astros up 2-0 in the first inning, and then a absolute nuclear blast up on top of the train tracks. That thing still has not reached the ground yet. Homers for Jose Abreu. He had a fantastic night. He had 3 hits yesterday. Jose Abreu, man. Dare I say he's back? All of a sudden, that OPS that was hovering at like around 500 is over 6, and you might say, that's still low and not good, and I'd say, you are correct. But, by God, we see the old Jose Abreu, and we see him surging right now. And in the absence of Yordan Alvarez, by God, do the Astros need old Jose Abreu, and it really seems like he might be back. Speaking of helpful, back-to-back home runs. Jose Abreu and Yainer Diaz. Make Yainer Diaz the starting catcher. That's not even a question anymore, or a request, that's a threat. Hey folks, Webster's Dictionary defines joke as something said or done to provoke laughter, a brief oral narrative with a climactic, humorous twist. Please don't sue me. And a fielder's choice that would bring home a run by C.J. Abrams in the 5th inning was the only blip on the radar for a gem performance from Framber Valdez. 7 innings of work with only 5 hits, 6 hard-hit balls. That's great, under the 1 per inning, where I like it to be. Didn't walk a soul, struck out 6 batters, only the 1 run. A masterful, it was a gem performance from Framber Valdez through 7 innings. And you think, 4-1 lead against the Nationals, easy peasy, nothing to it. Hector Neris, the birthday boy, strolls on in there for the 8th inning. And again, fantastic. No hard contact, no base runners, picks up a pair of strikeouts. He looks fantastic. He head to the 9th inning and nothing to be worried about. Something that I love about this channel and what I've been able to do here is the sense of community with everybody. Obviously in the comment section of videos, going back and forth, talking about different things. But also off of this, Instagram, Twitter, Snap, all the other little things where I chat with you guys about the Astros. And it's awesome, because I'm obviously not in Houston, I'm in Florida, so finding Astros fans is a very, very rare occurrence. And so chatting with everyone is awesome. I was not able to watch the game yesterday on account that I was over in Tampa. And right about the 9th inning is when my phone started to explode and I realized that something was happening. And when I saw the first message from OG of the channel, Noah, I realized that it wasn't good because it simply said, we're doing the thing. And I was privy to the fact that it was 4-1 going into the 9th inning, and I thought, I'm going to lose it. And thanks to the onslaught of messages from everybody, I was able to remove myself to watch the 9th inning, and what in the Looney Tunes garbage was that? Start the 9th, grounder to 3rd, perfect, that's exactly what you're looking for. Bregman sails the throw wide of Jose Abreu, and now instead of an out, you have a runner on 2nd to start the inning. That's not ideal. Then Corey Dickerson with a double to make it 4-2. You still have a lead, please don't do the thing. Ruiz grounds out, hey, there's an out, might move the runner over to 3rd, but hey, got the out. Then, Vargas, grounder back to Presley, who throws home. And boy, oh boy, it's always fascinating to watch pitchers who, when on the mound, can dot up a pitch to hit like this big of a spot where the catcher wants it. But then when a play is happening, they just forget how to throw a baseball. Presley sails the throw, it's 4-3, and then Dominic Smith with a triple to tie the game at 4. I would like to remind everyone that the Astros entered with a 4-1 lead. Toronto Maple Leafs somewhere saying this is what it feels like, but then the Astros got the last laugh, so I guess we don't. And now all of a sudden, the go-ahead runs on 3rd with 1 out in a game where the Astros entered the 9th with a 3-run lead. But a pair of ground outs to Jose Abreu and a pair of nice plays by Jose Abreu end the inning and give the Astros a shot in the bottom half. Which is where the game got stranger. Because gloved Kyle Tucker leads off the 9th with a single. Good, things you like to see. Jose Abreu singles, cool, the Astros have a runner in scoring position. Tucker swipes 3rd, even better. Now, Yainer Diaz strikes out, which isn't fantastic, but Corey Julks loads the bases up, which ended up being pretty important in the whole situation, because up steps Jake Meyers. Oh boy. So Meyers grounds 1 to Abrams, who throws home for the force out at home. Cool, now there's a 2nd out for the Nationals. But Ruiz decides, I would like to get a double play and be the hero and get us out of the 9th inning entirely. Throws to first base, and throws it rather to the right, where there's this guy called Jake Meyers running down the line. In the line, by the way. Bounces off his helmet, kind of just dribbles to the outfield, and Jose Abreu comes around to score, and the Astros walk it off in not the weirdest walk-off in Astros history, or even this little era, but this definitely fits very comfortably with either of Bregman's from 2018. Like, you can just slot this right there with the pop-up and the tapper miss throw. This totally works alongside of him. They are a beautiful little trio right there. 3 musketeers of weird-ass walk-offs. And I gotta say, Dave Martinez was furious after the game because the ball that hit Jake Meyers was not an automatic out of Jake Meyers for interference, which, first off, it wasn't. Dude held up a piece of paper that he printed off that quickly, which, like, one, that is a level of pettiness that I do almost kind of respect. to imagine being the random intern that was on the other end of that phone call. Hello?
Bring me pictures of Jake Myers!
Like, it is wild that he was that upset over a call in such a meaningless game for the Nationals in a season where they're very much not going to compete for anything, and that's not to insult them. That's just to call a fact a fact. They're not a World Series contender. They're not a playoff contender this season. They are well below 500. And, like, to be that upset and embittered about that call is insane. To make that much of a hissy fit is insane, because it's not even a bad call. And, like, that it ties into the World Series call, which is even crazier to me, because they won the World Series. Like, Dave Martinez only still has a job because that World Series, with the blown call, they won! Like, that's bonkers! And dear viewer, I hear you asking, what about Ryan Presley? And I would say I'm saving that for now because we move to game 69, nice, where the Astros lose 4-1, not so nice, to the Nationals, and drop the final game of the series. Now, offensively, we'll go over that because it's quick and easy. Chas McCormick had a good night. He had a pair of base hits. I would start him from here on out in left field. And when Yordan's back, I would still do it and just make Yordan the full-time DH and occasionally put him in left field. The injury concerns for Yordan are still there, and it's just not worth it to me to risk it. That bat is so integral to this team. You just got to put him out. Just have him hit. Have him be in the field like once every 4 days. But it's fine. McCormick is a good enough bat. Great defender. Just keep him out there and keep Yordan in the lineup. That is what I'm begging you. Kyle Tucker had a fantastic night. 3 hard hit balls, 3 hits. Picked up a double. Fantastic night for old Kyle Tucker there. Yainer Diaz had 1 at-bat. Was pinch hit. And had a hit. Look, the Yainer Diaz and Martin Maldonado debate should not be a debate. And I'm sorry. The defensive numbers for Martin Maldonado statistically were never really there. It was just a gut instinct that a lot of people have. And now, as those numbers, even the few things that gave Martin Maldonado the numbers, the few things that supported him, they just kind of don't now. Yainer Diaz is the future, and he needs to be starting the majority of games. At bare minimum, this has to be a 50-50 split. You can't keep leaving a 750 OPS bat on the bench for the majority of games over Martin Maldonado, who is like, it took a hot streak to get him to 550. It's a it borders on non-option at this point. And it sucks because I like Martin Maldonado an awful lot. And it is clear that he likes this team an awful lot. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'd love him to manage, bullpen coach, keep him in the organization somewhere. He's a great personality to have with this team, and his impact there is not lost on me. But you can't keep sending him out to bat every single game like this when he's struggling to bat a $180. He can't get his OPS close to 6, and the defensive numbers just aren't there now. I'm sorry, and it sucks to say, but that sun has set, and it's Yainer Diaz's time. So the offense wasn't great, right? And here's the thing. I barely put any of this on the pitching staff, even though the pitching staff was an unmitigated disaster once you got to the 9th and 10th inning, right? It was awful once you got to there. Christian Javier was fantastic. It was a very strange night for Javi, who wouldn't give up any walks, wouldn't give up any runs. Only gave up 5 hits in 6 innings. That's fantastic. 3 hard hit balls. And you'd say, wow, what a total gem. I'm sure he had like a dozen punch-outs. He had 2. And on one hand, Javier has always been a strikeout first, ask questions later pitcher. So the diminished strikeout number is a little bit concerning. However, he's still pitching really, really well. And it's not like, oh, he had a bunch of hard hit balls and a high expected batting average against, and he just got completely lucky in his outing. It's not that. Javi had a good night, a very good night. He looked great. And the strikeout numbers not being there, I don't love, but this isn't concerning outside of that. I still think he can get the strikeout numbers back, but just keeping the contact that soft, alone, with no walks given up, especially for Javi, who usually will walk a couple of batters in a game. That's great to see, especially since the first few starts of his season were kind of up and down and rocky. It's nice to see him with a gem like this. Speaking of good performances, Brian Abreu had a solid inning. 7 pitches to get through his 7th. Nothing too shabby there. Hector Neris, it gets hairy for him, gives up a walk and a base hit, but no hard contact, gets through his 8th inning, and you give it to Ryan Pressly. And I understand that a lot of the time Dusty Baker has been able to just have the continually send out a player and they'll figure it out mentality, right? That's worked with players before. That worked with Jake Myers, and I understand that. It seemingly has worked with Jose Abreu. He's just figured it out. Mauricio Dubon, he has figured it out and then some. So I understand that with players, position players. You cannot do that with pitchers, man. Ryan Pressly imploded last night, and for the second straight night, less than 24 hours, or maybe about 24 hours, after giving up 3 runs to blow the 9th inning. He got a win for that game, by the way, in case you still had any value in the pitcher win as a statistic. Yeah, get rid of that. Goes out, gives up a home run. And look, he was good outside of that. He had a pair of strikeouts in his 9th inning. But the 3 runs last night, and I understand that none of them were earned, but the 3 runs last night and the home run this night, giving up back-to-back games. And again, the Astros, even if he doesn't do that, I mean, maybe they get the run, maybe they don't. I'm not going to criticize and say this was Ryan Pressly and Ryan Pressly alone who lost this game, because the Astros scored nothing until there were 2 outs in the 9th inning. That was when they got their first and only run of the game. So I'm not going to say it's Ryan Pressly's fault alone. But coughing up the lead yesterday when having a 3-run lead, and then surrendering the run that was at the time the go-ahead run, I don't know how you can continue to put him out there as the closer. I don't think that it's done permanently, but I think at least for the foreseeable future, for a month, maybe 2 weeks, something like that, you've got to move him out of the closer spot. It needs to be Abreu. It makes too much sense. Abreu or Neris. You can't... Even you could convince me on Maton, even though he also was terrible tonight. You can't keep throwing Ryan Pressly out there as the closer. He has had a lot of blow-up starts this season. I believe this was the 5th straight appearance for Ryan Pressly in which he gave up a run. And insanity is to continue putting him out there on the field and hoping that he figures it out, and he is not giving you the sign that he's going to. And it sucks. It's the same crappy conversation that we have to have about Maldonado, because I like Ryan Pressly a lot, but he just doesn't have it right now. So you to the bottom half of the 9th, Yainer Diaz gets a base hit to tie it, cool RBI, he's got that dog in him, whatever else you want to say. You head to the 10th inning, Phil Maton absolutely implodes on himself. 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them were earned because of the stupid unearned runner rule. Still hate that, by the way, in case you, for some reason, thought I wouldn't. Gave up a walk as well, didn't strike anyone out, only got the 1 out in the inning. It was bad for Phil Maton. And then somehow Matt Gage comes in to pick up back-to-back strikeouts because we live in a simulation. And yes, Ryan Pressly had a bad 9th inning, and Phil Maton had a bad 10th inning. I'm not going to say they didn't, because they absolutely did. It's the Nationals. It is the Washington Nationals, guys. This had no business being tied 0-0. I maintain everything I said. I think the Pressly move has to happen. I'm not going to pin this loss on Ryan Pressly. I'm just not going to. Because A, the offense needs to give you something off of the Nationals. Shut out for 8 2/3. You got to give me something, anything. And secondly, I'm going to put that more so on Dusty than Pressly. You watched your guy go out there yesterday and give up 3 runs. Why on earth is he going back out to the mound now? I'm sorry, and I love Dusty Baker. I'm not even going to entertain the dumbass thought of should you fire Dusty Baker, which is something that genuinely some people have thought, which I think is insane, by the way. No, absolutely not. 1,000 times no. By the way, happy birthday to Dusty Baker. That's super neat. But, no, that is not even a thought we're going to entertain. But I'm not mad at Pressly for the lead being gone. I'm not pleased with how he's pitched, but this game is not on him or Maton, because, again, It was 1-1 in the 10th inning against the Nats. The offense has got to do better than that. So was the final game of the National Series a bitter, awful way to end that series? Yes. There is nothing else to add to that. That just was a crappy way to end that series. I mean, they still won it, so that's a positive. But luckily, the Astros can reset themselves tomorrow evening because they go right into the weekend set, a 3-game set against the Cincinnati Reds as they welcome them to Minute Maid Park. First game tomorrow evening, 8:10 Eastern, 7:10 Central. The Astros send J.P. France to the mound, not to be confused with Ty France, but who would do that? Only an idiot would confuse those two. The Cincinnati Reds will send Andrew Abbott to the mound, and I'll be here afterwards to talk about it. But as for right now, in this marathon of a video, that is all I have to say. Thank you all to anyone who stuck to the end of this one, and thank you for your patience. Hopefully I won't have to do this for a long while again. But as for right now, that is all I have to say. So if you enjoyed this, please consider to like and subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching, and as always, go Astros.